Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Down to Earth with me, Kristian Harloff. Thanks for joining us here today. There's been a lot of chatter about possible disclosure happening early in 2024. I've mentioned in the last couple of videos that whether it's been Ross Coulthart, Stephen Greer, a lot of people have been saying that January was going to be this. This is it. The roof's going to be blown off of this thing. And we are going to start getting some crazy answers about disclosure. Seems like more and more people are singing that song, but we haven't seen anything just yet to make us go, okay, maybe. There's been a lot of talk that the new administration is going to be the disclosure administration, that they've had enough and that they're going to start talking about it, and whether it's what the drones really are to a bunch of other things. There's a lot of different things that kind of add into this. And I think it was the Liberation Times wrote this whole article that I wanted to kind of break down. So let's get to that. Let me bring up this article from the Liberation Times. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Hit that button, and let's get into it. Here's the article by Christopher Sharp, UFO Disclosure Endgame. And he writes, things could move fast in the coming weeks and months. The incoming Trump administration must act decisively to disclose information about UAP. The stakes have never been higher, with advocates and skeptics vying for influence with the government. Appointing UAP advocates and whistleblowers like Carl Nell, Lou Elizondo, Dave Grush to lead these efforts from within the National Security Council could be a game changer, helping shape policy and efforts to navigate around gatekeepers to alleged rogue UAP retrieval and reverse engineering programs. That could be reality, as such figures do have positive relationships with key Donald Trump associates and family members, with Elizondo having appeared on Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast on 2 occasions. The signs that the Trump administration will take action are positive when looking at the team President-elect Trump is building. If Senate confirmation goes as planned, pro-disclosure advocates could fill roles in Trump's cabinet. Figures like incoming CIA Director John Ratcliffe and presumptive Secretary of State Marco Rubio are likely to push for greater White House transparency on UAP matters. The same is true of incoming Health Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., who will likely push for declassification of files relating to the assassination of his late uncle, President John F. Kennedy. All 3 will need to be confirmed by the Senate before being appointed to their roles. Another pivotal figure will be National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who does not need to be confirmed by the Senate, meaning he will be ready to work on the UAP issue from day one, if required. Waltz, a former Green Beret and current congressman, will hold a central role coordinating efforts with the National Security Council. He will have the ear of the president and advise him on security and foreign affairs issues daily. Despite past resistance to UAP legislation by the House Intelligence Committee, which Waltz has been a member of, he has shown potential as a UAP advocate. In 2023, addressing allegations from a former Senator Intelligence Officer David Grush of covert and rogue UAP programs by the U.S. government, Waltz stated, "We have been assured it's not our systems. That means it's either our adversaries have things with capabilities that we weren't aware of and that we can't explain, or it's otherworldly. Either way, I want to know, and the American people deserve to know, what the hell it is." Waltz's close ties to UAP transparency champion Mike Gallagher and another layer of intrigue. Gallagher, now leading defense operations at Palantir, has supported UAP transparency. He was the star of the 2022 UAP House hearing and is responsible for adding the Wilson/Davis document to the congressional record. One of Palantir's founders, Peter Thiel, a venture capitalist and a political activist, has also financially backed Waltz's congressional campaigns. Sources tell Liberation Times that Peter Thiel is a key advocate for UAP transparency. Behind the scenes, sources say that Thiel has championed efforts to ensure alleged non-human materials are made accessible to a greater number of engineers and scientists, aiming to accelerate breakthroughs in reverse engineering. Another key player could be Steve Feinberg, nominated as Deputy Secretary of Defense. Feinberg is poised to oversee AARO, which currently resides within the DoD. Feinberg previously served on an intelligence advisory board during Trump's first term, potentially granting him insight to UAP-related matters. Critics may fear his ties to Cerberus-linked firms might compromise transparency, favoring companion potentially implicated to legacy programs. Feinberg's role in any transparency efforts will depend on how the incoming administration chooses to utilize Arrow, if at all. Decisions must be made quickly. Figures like Elizondo, Nell, Grush could potentially be utilized within the National Security Council to manage efforts and respond to expected incoming public disclosure from government and private insiders about alleged UAP legacy program. This may require bypassing or even standing the Arrow down, at least its role in investigating the alleged programs. Shut it down. Liberation Times understands that the key whistleblowers have already spoken out with their testimony set for release in the coming days, weeks, or months. And now some insiders have already shed light on the potential reality of UAP and its non-human origins. Among those shedding light on the issue is Harold Memgren, a former advisor to JFK. In December of 2024, Memgren thanked Liberation Times for publishing an article by Jeff Cruikshank, which claimed that the 1962 Blue Grill Triple Prime nuclear test brought down a craft of non-human intelligence. He talks about that article. He talks about that nuclear event that we've covered here many different times. And he said that it was something that was also, the report was made to JFK. They just dive deep into this thing. I'm going to pull the full link to this article into the description. And I'll tell you, look, they make a lot of big points. They make a lot of great points. And they make a lot of points that if all this stuff actually does happen, then if you're on the side of truth and you're the side of people who are looking to see, okay, you got everybody in place now. Is this the real deal or is this BS? What is it? Let us know. You got that team in there. You got everybody who really wants it to happen. And it's like when you're playing this game of who's in the power seats. And if there's right now, it's like there's a lot of people in the power seats who don't want information to come out. If that starts to shift, I mean, then obviously you're going to look by just power of numbers saying, okay, look, especially if the main seat is saying, hey, here's everybody. We want this to come out now. I got to have people around me protecting me because I don't want to be the president saying, okay, they're going to start I'm looking over my shoulder because remember what Ross Coulthart said. One of the reasons the report that he had gotten is one of the reasons that Trump didn't say anything the last time is he was afraid for his life. So what would change now, right? That's putting people around you, all around you saying, okay, we've got to overpower. We know who the people are that have been keeping these secrets for as long as they have, and we've got to figure out a way to now dethrone them out of that power. And now we have all these whistleblowers. Now we have everybody else coming out. They say that the testimonies are already there. They say that they're supposed to be coming out soon. This is one of those things again. It's like, oh yeah, it's coming out January. There's all these different reports. This article is saying that it seems like this is going to happen. Ross Coulthart, the one who's saying all hell is going to break loose in January. I mean, he probably has a lot of this information, knowing what is or who has spoken, when that's going to be released. There was another report from Jeremy Corbell that him and Knapp have more coming. So the question still remains, what's the first big information drop? And are they waiting for the inauguration first, signing in the new administration, and then here we go? Because all of those names that were mentioned, and there were more mentioned inside that article. As I said, I'll put the full article in the description so you guys can read the whole thing. There's tons of names in there, names that I've mentioned on this show many, many times, that you would assume, okay, well, what is their role? What are they doing? What's the announcement going to be for Lou Elizondo? What's the announcement going to be for Grush? What's the announcement going to be for Carl Nell? What's the announcement going to be for all these people, and how involved are they going to be inside of this fight? Instead of being on the outside of like this rogue group, is actually part of the administration. That goes a long way. And it will also be something where, I think they mentioned this too, where you got a Lou Elizondo who's been on the president's son's podcast and has a lot of people's ears now. And I just didn't like his answer when Cuomo was talking to him, and he said, well, that my old thing was the UAP thing. Now I'm focused on the drones. It's like, what do you mean your old thing? The hell are you talking about? It should be the thing. It's one of the things, not my old thing. What are you doing? So that makes me nervous. But the other names, all of those names, even the ones that we don't talk about as much, who have been advocates and saying enough is enough. Let's get the truth out there. Let's put it out there. Let's see what we got. And I love the idea, and I don't know if this is just something that they're suggesting or something that's been talked about. Shut Arrow down. Shut it down. No one's believing it. No, there's the same thing, like in that if you watch James Fox's documentary, what an absolute joke it was when he was talking to NASA, and the guy didn't even know who Grush was. And he was like, "Oh, I heard he heard from a friend who heard from a friend." It's like, did you watch anything? Were you doing your job to find, like, how is that your job? You should know. You should have a response of, like, I'm not telling you have to believe the guy, but know what he said. He didn't say a friend told him. He said he interviewed various witnesses. And so when you have incompetence like that in the highest level at NASA, and then we've known the kind of incompetence that was happening at Arrow, do you try to reform it and give it validity? Or do you just say, no, let's either create something new or shut this thing down, create something new, or do you just say, okay, look, let's actually make this thing what it's intended to be? So this article seems to have faith that they're going to put together a team that is actually trying to make things happen. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. I mean, it's just hard. I think over the last year or so of all this is coming, wait for this, and then nothing ever comes. Now, I've seen many comments many times over now, and I've talked about it, if you've been following me long enough, that I've really started to just dive into this within the last year and a half, maybe approaching 2 years, but either way, not even nearly as long as some people who've been following this 20, 30, 40 years. I've gotten those comments. Like, you think you have impatience. Those are the comments that I get. But it just hasn't been covered like this ever, with the kind of information that we have that's constantly, daily, always coming out about this stuff. And when you do, and because of the social media aspect, you got to be careful with promises. You got to be careful with, this is coming now. If it ain't coming and it hasn't already happened and it's not recorded and it ain't about to hit play, don't say it. Because if it doesn't, you got egg on your face. Now, I mentioned this on my other video. Stephen Greer, I haven't watched Patrick's video yet from Vetted. I have to do that. But I saw the thumbnail, and the thumbnail seemed to imply that Greer was saying that his whistleblower, the one that he was talking about, that had all the information, was the Cybertruck bomber. You know, there's one side of it that goes, yeah, that's factual, and that's what happened, and there's something fishy about that, or it's like convenient. So you can choose either way to whether or not you believe Greer or not. I don't know. He's not the only one saying this stuff, though. Cold Heart is. There's tons of other people are saying that things are supposed to go down. This article, if it actually comes to be, and they do actually do a very good job in it, also saying, look, there's also concern that some of these people are still going to have greater companies' interests at hand, more so than ours. They can talk about it all day long, and they can say, this is what we want. We want the people to know. We want the truth to be heard. The old statement says, money talks, bullshit walks. And do not be surprised if people are compromised. I ain't rapping. If they're in the middle of something and they're put in place, and these people, who George Knapp says brilliantly, are better at their jobs than we are, offer some major money to these people to look the other way. You got to always think about that stuff. Doesn't matter who you're putting in there. The question is, how big? This is something you also have to realize, right? Now, any administration that is the disclosure administration is, and if it is actually what a lot of us think it is, and if it is what Carl Nell says, and it's non-human intelligence, and that is the discovery of all time of human existence. Well, this is the administration, if it is this administration, that we remembered forever. So there is something in that you automatically goes, that conversation is had. And that is something that you'll always be remembered for. And that is always something that will That was who was the president when that happened. That will always be a thing forever, for the end of time. Now, the other side of that is they're going to say, how do we make money off this thing? Don't think that that doesn't happen, because it does. The question is that they could say is, does it make more sense to keep it quiet? And the lawsuits that come in, the money that is lost, the people that go to jail, all that stuff, is that worth it monetarily for us in the long run? Can we turn this technology into a profitable business? Can we do this and make it profitable? Will our economy build and grow because of this, or will it hurt? Will the stock loss that happens initially from the announcement get made up hand over fist with all the new stuff and the new technology that is coming out? Don't be a fool. Those conversations have to happen in order for this to happen. You just say, we don't know what the risks are. Go ahead and announce it. We know what it is. Go ahead and announce it. What about the stocks? Who cares? What about this? It doesn't matter. It's got to be like, how do we recoup? Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts on it? A lot of hoopla? Or is this the real deal this time around? If this gets put into play, can we see some shit go down? Put your comments in there. Let me know. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't done that already, please do it. You want to become a member, you can do that also. That's how you support the channel. But another way to support the channel is by looking good. How do you look good? Well, get some Public Rec. I'm going to tell you about Public Rec. You're going to buy something from there. Why? Because you're going to look slick, and then you're going to thank me for it, and you're helping out the channel at the same time. Here it is.
Don't BS me. You know as well as I do, wearing nice pants stinks. Who came up with the plan and said, hey, let's get some uncomfortable fabrics, squeezing your family jewels, and that is how you're going to look sharp? I'm going to give you an early holiday gift, and this is from me to you. The days are over. Public Rec's Daymaker pants, they're here to make sure you stay comfy and classy this season. They feel like your favorite sweats, but they're tailored pants. Super stretchy with an elastic waistband so you can rock them anywhere. Doesn't matter. You're going to work, you're going to hang out with your friends, they got you covered. Give the gift of comfort to someone that you love this season with Public Rec's Daymaker pants. And for a limited time only, you can get 20% off your entire order. You got to use that code DTE at publicrec.com. That is 20% off when you use that code DTE at publicrec.com. This morning, I was looking in the mirror. I go, these look damn good. I look slick. Anyway, go there, check it out, and you'll thank me later.